Welcome to the State's Candidate Forum, organized by the League of Women Voters. This forum is a chance to hear from candidates running for office in the California State Legislature and to have your questions answered. I'm Deepti Kanappan, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Torrance area. This forum is a joint effort of 3 local leagues, Beach Cities, Palos Verdes Peninsula, and Torrance area. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization founded in 1920 that runs programs for civic education, voter services, and advocacy throughout the United States. We believe in empowering voters through information and supporting them in making their voices heard at the polls. If you'd like to hear more about us, or even join, please talk to one of our volunteers or collect a brochure. During this event, we welcome your written questions for the candidates. Volunteers will be handing out index cards and pencils. So please wave to a volunteer if you have a question. You can return the card to a volunteer or bring it to the question table. On the card, please put the letter A for Assembly or S for Senate. There are a few important rules that apply to this forum, and we may remind you about them a few times during the evening. Campaign literature and materials are not allowed in this hall during the forum. That includes slogans on t-shirts and signs. Campaign materials are only allowed outside on the table in the lobby. On the premises, candidates may not accept nor discuss campaign contributions or in-kind donations, such as hosting events on behalf of a candidate. You will need to leave the premises before having those discussions. Cell phones must be turned off during the forum. Unauthorized video recording is not allowed. We will make the official recording available to the public. If you're a member of the media, please speak to a volunteer before recording. Thank you for abiding by these rules. I hope you have an informative evening, and I will now hand over the mic to the moderator, Mary Ellen Barnes.
Thank you, Deepti. Well, like she said, I'm Mary Ellen. I am the moderator this evening for the Candidate Forum for State Assembly District 66. I wanted to go over the ground rules a little bit and some of the format. As Deepti mentioned, we are taking written questions, so just if you need a card, raise your hand and a volunteer will give you a card and a pencil. And when you've got your question written out, just raise your hand again and they'll come pick it up and bring it up here. Questions are to be addressed to all the candidates, not one in particular. I won't ask those because it's unfair to the other candidates. All the candidates have signed agreements that they will abide by our rules and our timetable. After I introduce the candidates, we will have 1-minute openings. The candidates are going, you can come up, candidates. They all are sitting in the order in which they drew numbers earlier. So that's why they're in that order. They'll have 1-minute openings, 1 minute to answer questions, and 1.5 minutes to do a closing or summary statement. Since this candidates forum is designed to provide a nonpartisan setting for undecided voters to hear everybody's position, demonstrations of support or opposition to a candidate or their positions will be out of order. And if you get really disrupted, then you would be asked to leave. We have 2 timekeepers with us today, candidates, so you can see 3. Oh, okay. We have Cindy with the paddles to say stop and go and all of that stuff. Not go, but actually stop and 30 seconds. And we have Peggy, who is actually doing the timing. And I have a little bell on my desk over there, so if you run over, ding, 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 I will do that. And I'm sorry, Janet is also helping with the timing, so she's got another little timing clock. Please abide by the times because we are taping this forum. So I will let you finish a sentence. You know, if they say stop and you're like literally in the middle of a sentence, finish your sentence, but don't start going on and on and on and on because I will stop you And I mean, that's a courtesy to you. I don't want to have to start cutting everybody off because somebody abuses it. I want to remind you candidates that this is a forum, not a debate. So there are no rebuttals, there are no personal attacks of other candidates. That's not how we do things. Just stick to answering the questions that are asked, okay? Now I'd like to introduce our candidates in alphabetical order. Well, I could actually. We've got George Barks down there. We've got Sarah Dean here. We have Jessica Maldonado, and we have Scott Houston. Two candidates couldn't be with us tonight because of previous commitments, Shannon Ross and Paul Sayo. So I want our candidates, as soon as I get over there, to begin with your opening statements. Remember, we will be starting with Sarah, working our way down. When we do closing statements, we'll be starting with George and working our way back up. And I'll rotate the questions around so everybody has a chance to be first, okay? So let me get over here. And Sarah, you can start with your opening.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters and everyone for being here today, including the candidates and their volunteers. I'm Sarah Dean, president of the Palos Verdes School Board, and I serve on the board of SCROC, delivering career technical education in the South Bay. I also co-own and operate a single urgent care in Torrance. I'm a dentist and a proud mom of 2 El Camino college students. I came to politics very unexpectedly. Dentists don't run for office. I think they should. As a dentist, if I didn't actually fix a toothache, if I just talked about it or promised to look into it, patients wouldn't come back. So on the school board, I addressed pain points, delivered results that the public can see and they can verify. Not promises, not excuses. Rising rankings, rising test scores, and a desperately needed school bond. We can't afford more politics as usual. We need people who show up from the moment they're elected to deliver a government of the people, by the people, for the people. I hope to earn your vote today. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Very good. Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters, and I'm Scott Houston, and I love the South Bay. We value our local control, our independence, our consensus over division, our action and not delays, and respect for all. And in fact, my record of public service, combined with my private sector background and long-term relationships across our South Bay cities, is what genuinely sets me apart in this race. So during this time, I've heard from the teacher who can't afford to buy a home, from the Torrance small business owner struggling to hire talent, from the senior worried about Medi-Cal cuts, real people, real struggles that fuel my resolve. This is why I'm running, to tackle the everyday issues head on, deliver results for the South Bay, and to fight to keep the California dream alive for all of us.
Thank you, Scott. Jessica.
Hello, my name is Jessica Z. Maldonado, and I'm just honored to be here with you. And thank you so much, League of Women Voters, for hosting us today. I'm a registered nurse. For 30 years, I have worked in service as a first responder here in the South Bay, taking care of families, children, and under duress. I've taken care of, in the front lines, sustaining people's lives, making decisions under a lot of stress, decisions that directly impact people's everyday lives on the spot. I've been honored to bring ushering children into this world and also to help transition people into the afterlife. I feel very privileged and honored to have worked as a first responder here in the South Bay. I believe in the American dream, and I believe that the South Bay is worth fighting for, and I'm a champion to help represent you in Sacramento. I hope I can earn your vote today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. George.
Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing today's event. My name is George Barks. I'm a lifelong resident of the South Bay, a small business owner, and I've had the honor of serving our country in the United States Army and our community as both city councilman and mayor of Hermosa Beach. I'm running for state assembly because Sacramento has lost touch with communities like ours. We need leadership that puts people first, supporting our law enforcement, firefighters, and schools while standing up for small businesses and protecting local control. I'll fight to keep California affordable by defending Proposition 13, opposing new taxes, and working to lower everyday costs, including a temporary gas tax waiver. And we need real solutions to the challenges we see every day. I'm running to bring common sense, accountability, and a local voice back to Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll begin with the questions. I do want to mention that I think we'll add 5 minutes on at the end because we started late, so we'll have an extra 5 minutes for you. We're going to start with questions, and we're going to start with Scott, and we're going to work our way down and then end with you, okay? You can't hear me? Now can you hear me? All right, so we are going to add an extra 5 minutes on at the end because we got a late start. We're going to start with Scott and work our way down and end with Sarah. So the first question is, not enough is being done to bring down the cost of living for Californians. What steps will you take to ensure that more affordable housing will be built in our area?
Sure. I think we do have to take a look at what are the hindrances for housing development. We need to find the right balance where we can build more homes, we can build more units, and at the same time, of course, respect local control. I know that's really important here in the South Bay communities. One of the challenges we are having is a lot of the folks who cannot afford to buy in this marketplace in the beach cities and Torrance any further, they're going inland. And we can't make that the only choice they have. So I do support strategic growth, especially when we look at these malls that can be redeveloped, when we look at the main corridors where there are opportunities. But think about this. Most of us could not afford to buy the home we live in today. Please don't kid yourselves, nor can your kids or your grandkids. We have got to address this issue, and personally, I don't want to see us continuing to push everyone into the Inland Empire. We need to have housing here.
Thank you. Jessica, same question.
Would you repeat that question again, please?
Sure. Not enough is being done to bring down the cost of living for Californians. What steps will you take to ensure that more affordable housing will be built in our area?
One of the problems that we have with the cost of living that really impacts not just housing, but even the food that we put on our table and how we commute with our cars each day is gasoline. And is the taxes. The taxes is actually what is driving up the cost of living. The taxes is what's impacting how much we pay for rent, is how much we pay for our mortgage as well. The taxes is really a problem across the board. I don't believe that we have a shortage of homes. I believe that the multi-developers that are building all these multi-unit structures throughout the South Bay, half of those structure buildings are halfway empty. If you look at statistics, they are not filled up. So I don't believe that we have a shortage of housing, and I believe that we need to restore local control so that we can determine when enough is enough, so they don't overpack our communities and we can maintain our quality of living.
Thank you. George.
Well, what we have to do to lower the cost of housing is to really look at all the regulations. We have way too many regulations on the developers, and that's one reason why we have a higher cost of living. Another reason is that these developers, they start buying large parcels, and then they tear down the homes that are existing, and then they build new homes, and the price just goes up and up and up. I support a proposal that our South Bay Cities Council of Governments has proposed, and this can happen in all regions up and down the state, where cities in that region come together and they form a joint powers agreement and they purchase these properties that are for sale to maintain those homes that we currently have, and that will help keep the prices down.
Thank you. Sarah.
Local school districts are struggling to retain teachers because young teachers can't afford to live here. Small businesses like ours struggle to hire staff. Last year I had lunch with 5 Torrance electricians who all work full-time in their 30s, and they said they can never afford to have children. So because of housing. Housing is a crisis we can't ignore. So let's help our seniors transition, connecting them to programs to fund home renovation so they can choose to move into something smaller or assisted living. We need to build more starter homes, duplexes, smaller units young families can actually afford. Workforce housing may be the strongest area of local agreement, housing for nurses, school staff, first responders. Just as I did when passing a challenging school bond measure, as your assembly member, I'll provide local leadership, building community understanding, and the political will to drive projects forward. I also think we need to support local city leaders to clean up housing legislation so they feel empowered and not punished. Things like allowing regions to share RENA credits. Sameness is never the answer. Rolling Hills can never be Torrance. Torrance can never be downtown LA. But we do need to build a South. Oh, I just noticed the time.
It's okay. Thank you. All right, the next question will start with Jessica. Can you address traffic concerns due to the high-density developments being forced on us?
That's a very difficult answer because the issue is that they're forcing us to build and build and build when we already are a community that is already built out. There isn't any open land for us to develop here in the South Bay. So when we used to be able to have one home in one lot, suddenly they made it a lot where you can have 2 homes. Now you can have 4 homes. Now you can have 8 living spaces in the same. We're cramming everything. And so what's happening is impacting our schools and impacting our traffic. It's just density all across the board. And we really do need to relocate people. And I think that we can build homes in underdeveloped spaces throughout California. Only 5 to 7% of California is actually developed. There's a lot of open land where we can create new communities without overcrowding our communities. If we continue to build and build and build, traffic is going to be unavoidable.
Great. Thank you. George.
Very difficult question, and it really is a real problem. I was born and raised here in the South Bay, in fact, in Hermosa Beach, and raised 2 of my children, and they're adults now, and I can't believe how much more traffic we have. And I know that cities would like to get people out of their cars and ride bicycles, but it's just not practical and feasible. Now, it's, I wish I had a quick answer for it, but you know, some of the suggestions that have been already said will help mitigate, but people don't want to leave our area here either. So until we get more, if ever, mass transportation,
Okay,
I
thank
have to
you.
stop.
Thank you, George. Sarah.
People should be able to live, work, and retire in the communities they grew up in, and people should be able to live near job and opportunity centers like the South Bay. There's really good studies that show that when people get priced out and they have to commute longer and longer distances, that's when you see increasing traffic. And so to mitigate that, we mitigate the housing crisis. We need to make it so people can live and work closer together so they don't have to do long commutes. There's fewer cars on the road. We need to develop and better fund public transit. It means not just investing in developing public transit, but adequately funding the maintenance of public transit. That's sometimes where we drop the ball. Is the maintenance piece. And then I do think we need to do a better job of supporting the biking community. I see some of our really frequent bicycle users in the audience, actually, and I know many people that choose to bike every day, and we need to do more in terms of supporting safe biking with protected bike lanes that can also decompress car traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott.
Sure. You know, there is no easy answer on this one. People live here, and as Mr. Bark said, people want to live here. They want to stay here. As there is growth, we do have to anticipate the traffic issues. On the one hand, a lot of the local cities do have control, right? They're able to do their traffic studies and how they monitor it and how they can move people better within their jurisdiction. For example, here in Torrance, if all those lights are synced up and they're moving, you can get a lot of cars going back and forth at certain hours in the same on the Pacific Coast Highway. And the state doesn't need to play a role in that, where it has that, commingled jurisdiction, if you will. But the other thing you have to remember is the work world is changing. So many people now work odd hours, they work from home. I don't see it to be quite as much as the sky is falling as some will make it out to be because of that. And lastly, we need to give people every option, right? Some of us choose to drive, but what if you want to ride your bicycle? What if you want to ride public transit? We need reliable public transit. So it's an all-of-the-above strategy.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll start with George. What do you think would be helpful in addressing the state's water issues?
Well, what we need to do is elect legislators that will really address it, because the Sacramento policies have failed us. And just recently here, the fires that we had, empty reservoirs. The environmentalists have a lot of say with regards to protecting sea life, for example. Oh, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. And we need new ideas, and we need to create a balance in Sacramento so we can really start addressing these issues, because it's unbelievable the state that we're in now with this water shortage. And again, overregulation. So that's it.
Thanks, George. Sarah?
I'm resisting the urge to remember that this is not a candidate conversation because I'm looking forward to hearing Scott's answer here. But yes, one of the things I was really surprised by was within the last 5 years, one of the rivers in central California somewhere completely dried up. And when our state decided to take a look and understand what happened, it turned out nobody was measuring
Live, no one was measuring as people were drawing water out of that river, and specifically it's our farming communities that were pulling water, and I was shocked to hear that there's no live mechanism for keeping track of who's pulling water. So you only find out once the river has already dried up, which seemed really absurd to me. I have found that even in local government, as a matter of pattern now, habit, we tend not to measure. We implement programs and we don't measure and track how we're doing, and we don't decide whether or not is this program working or is it not working. And so I think the first thing is investing in infrastructure. We definitely need to invest in all kinds of water infrastructure, but specifically to keep track and monitor water throughout our state is really important.
Thank you. Scott?
Well, very good. Well, what I didn't say in the beginning of this is I actually serve on the West Basin Water Board for 12 years now. This has been my forte. This is what I've been doing, not only at West Basin, but in California, in Washington, D.C., and across the West. And, you know, this crisis, it is a crisis. The Colorado River is in crisis. If you even read the newspaper right now, we are in major negotiations with the Trump administration on the future of the law of the river. Our agreement expires later this year. We have 7 states, Mexico, 30 tribes. We're all dependent on that river, as well as our Sierra snowpack. So we've got to make sure we have robust infrastructure. A lot of it's aged. We've got to make sure that we are continuing to do what we do at West Basin and other districts, more recycled wastewater. Stop putting it out into the ocean. Let's recycle it. Let's reuse it here. By the way, we reuse this for industries too, like our refineries. Take out the grass. We've taken out more than 5 million square feet of grass in the last handful of years just in the South Bay. That's incredible. That's a big part of the future of what we're going to deal with, and I'm the one who knows how to do it, and I'm happy to be running for this office on your behalf.
Thank you. Jessica?
We do not have a water crisis. We live by the ocean. There's plenty of water. We have other countries throughout the world like Australia, Spain, Israel, Saudi Arabia that desalinizes, how do you say that? Desalinizes the water. Desalination program. They take the salt out of the water. And there's plenty of water, and they use it for drinking, they use it for irrigation, they use it to grow their crops. We're talking about countries like Saudi Arabia that is a desert, and they have no problems with vegetation. We need to cleanse our water, to remove the salt from our water so we can irrigate our crops to make sure that, that we never have a fire again that cannot be extinguished. So when people talking about a water crisis, that's politicians talking because they want to regulate everything, but they're really not concerned about your quality of life. So I strongly disagree that we have a water crisis. We do not have a water crisis. And when you try to save a fish in a pond at the expense of your properties, I would question those politicians' decisions on your behalf.
Thank you. All right, this question will start with Sarah. If elected, what is the top achievement you would like to accomplish while in office?
Healthcare, without a question of a doubt. Anyone who's interacted with me probably heard me say, as a dentist, I got sick and tired of telling patients, this is what you need, this is what insurance will cover. Insurance should not be dictating treatment decisions. Patients and doctors should be deciding what to pursue. And insurance authorization delays are costing us lives every single day. Some people may think they have good coverage. Soon enough, you're going to have fewer doctors and shorter appointments because the insurance plans are incentivizing all the wrong behaviors. This is the first year we had an epic shortage of primary care residencies went unfilled, which means your next doctor is going to be harder to find than you think. HR 1's going to make it much harder for everyone else, even if you have good insurance. California must reimagine healthcare, and no ideas, whether Canada's single payer or Germany's unified financing model or everything in between. We should consider every single idea to return healthcare decisions to patients instead of the profit-driven insurance companies. There are no dentists in the legislature right now.
Thank you. Scott?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. If elected, what is the top achievement you would like to accomplish while in office?
I think I'll name two, and one is water and infrastructure. I think that is also one of the most important issues facing not just California, but the West. And that's not just our aqueducts, but it's some of the other resiliency measures we're doing, looking at building more recycled wastewater plants, looking at building more desalination plants where that might make sense. You have to look at every option. But infrastructure also, our highways, our bridges. This is how the economy flourishes in any state. We need to make sure that we are ready for the future. This district on the north, we have LAX, just to the north of us. We have the Port of Los Angeles, just next door on the south end. Major economic drivers for this district. So those two are two of my personal issues. And the other one is the bureaucracy. I'm a small business owner too. I would be the first to tell anybody, it doesn't matter the party affiliation. This is an extremely bureaucratic state. And there is a group of us, myself included, we want to address that. And we need to make sure that we do.
Okay, thank you. Jessica?
There's a couple of things that I'm also passionate about that I really would like to pass through in legislation, but one of them, for start, is public safety. I believe that we all should feel safe in our communities, on our streets. Right now, we have defunded our police, and that is by intention. It makes us vulnerable and dependent, and the truth is, we should not be afraid to go down the street. We should not be afraid of someone breaking into our homes. We have such a high rate of crime right now, especially in the South Bay, with gangs, with Middle Eastern gangs, with Colombian gangs that are breaking into our home. I believe that we need to strengthen our police. We need to give them the resources that they need so they can do a good job. You shouldn't have to be waiting on the other line, on the phone, calling 911 when no one on the other end answering, when you are in desperate need of some help. So public safety for me is number one, and the other one is also energy. I want to make sure that we have enough fuel that is affordable at the pump. We have been closing refineries in California, and we need to reopen them so we can also remove the regulations and lower the cost of the pump.
Thank you. George?
Okay, my first priority is affordability and cost of living. And the first thing that I will do when I'm elected is to suspend the California gas tax for 1 year. That will reduce the price per gallon of fuel by $1.25. Look at how expensive it is today, okay? Next, I would like to work very hard for renewable energy and nuclear energy because we really are short on energy, okay? And of course, which we talked earlier, the cost of housing. And we can definitely reduce the cost of housing by bringing people from both sides of the aisle together, smart people, and to really work on these issues and problems that we have.
Thank you. All right, we'll start with Scott. Why should I vote for you instead of the other candidates?
So we're all going to say wonderful things about ourselves. Look, I would just say a handful of things. I mean, I have been fortunate to serve in regional elected office for 12 years now, so I do understand how local government works. And At the West Basin Water District, we are a regional government. So I deal with multiple cities, I deal with the county, I deal with the state, and I deal with the federal government. So I have those relationships. Those are built in, and they're people I've worked with, and by the way, across the aisle. And I am super proud of that. I actually, I truly value that in this district. I mean, we've got industries like aerospace, we have refineries, we have other industries that these are not partisan issues. These are job creators, and I want to be a part of that solution. You know, my background is in public relations, my background's in manufacturing, so I've got a private sector experience and a public sector experience, and I know this district better than anybody else that's sitting up here, except for maybe George.
Thank you. Jessica.
I'm a registered nurse. I've worked in the South Bay for 30 years, bringing solutions and helping people through crisis. I love the South Bay. This is my home. And I'm not a politician, nor do I want to be. If you are happy with the way government has been making decisions on your behalf, then vote for another politician. But if you're ready for some fresh, new perspective, then vote for a registered nurse, for someone that really cares about your life, that cares about your family, that cares about your children, that cares about everything that it has to do with your life. Because if you know nurses' hearts, our heart is to love and care for people. And we sacrifice our lives every day on the front lines. And we put you first before ourselves. And that's been my life's history. I'm also a missionary. I've traveled the nations for 30 years preaching the gospel and doing works of compassion, water wells, feeding programs, sending kids to college. Education is a very important aspect of my race. I want to make sure that children in America get the very best education possible because they deserve it and because we have the funds to be able to educate them and to give them a future that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. George.
Okay, you should vote for me because I'm a former councilman and mayor in the city of Hermosa Beach for 12 years. I know local government. I've been a businessman all my life, and I currently have a small business. So I know how to operate a business efficiently. And so I know the government, how we have to deal with the government and the public sector. And I have a track record in Hermosa Beach of bringing people from both sides of the aisle together. And we accomplished so much. And we need to vote for policies now and not parties. So Democrats and Republicans, vote for policies. Vote for George Barks.
Thank you. Sarah.
I do think having experience implementing state legislation is important. When you're serving in these local seats, you really see how sometimes Sacramento does not think through the downstream impact. So I think that's an important approach or experience to have. Secondly, as a dentist, my priority was always patient care. And secondarily, you don't want to get sued and you don't want to be wasteful. But those should be secondary considerations. The taking care of human beings should always come first. And that's how I approached my school board role. And right now, in a lot of policy spaces, it feels like we've dehumanized them completely. It's all about litigation and risk management. I have a track record of courage. I got doxxed 2 years ago. It's not fun. And then the person who doxxed me insisted on meeting with me. And I met with that person. They decided they wanted to record it as well. I haven't seen the recording. But I'm someone who has a record of being courageous. I'm not just promising to be courageous. I don't think raising kids is the most important thing on earth, but I think it's an important perspective. I have a daughter that just turned 18, so I understand the challenges young people are facing.
Thank you. Jessica, we'll start with you. If elected, what education issue would you like to work on?
The education issue that I would like to work on is graduating K through 12 youth that can read and can write at grade level. Right now, we are the 38th percentile in the nation. I remember when I was young and I went to school here in California, we were the top 5 states in the nation in education. Right now, we're failing our children in California. That's absolutely unacceptable. I think that school district is prioritizing, unfortunately, in some other courses that take away from them focusing on the right courses that the children should be learning. How to read, how to write, civics, how to love their nation, how to embrace who they are, their identity, how they were born, how their God-given gender and sex that they were born with. I believe that we need to remove that indoctrination out of our school system, and we need to leave that up to the parents. The parents should be focusing on training their kids about their sexuality, their spirituality, and their sex education, right? That should not be up to the school to cross that line.
Thank you. George?
Okay, education is extremely important, as you all know this. What I would focus on is the policies that take away parents' rights. We really need parental rights strongly, and on top of that, with this AI now that we are all having to address, and AI, whether we like it or not, is here to stay. We need to educate our young people for jobs that they use their hands, because AI is going to reduce, the number of employees that we're going to have in the nation. So,
Okay, thank you. Sarah?
First, we have to raise the base funding per student. We never fully recovered after the recession. Retirement obligations have compounded, are really putting a lot of pressure on districts, hurting staff and students. Secondly, special education is unfairly and chronically underfunded. Educating a kid with the IEP generally costs twice as much, and our funding formula does not match. Third, we must reinvest in the educator pipeline, reducing the cost of becoming credentialed and focusing on real professional development, not just compliance training. Fourth, communities work so hard to pass local school bonds, and then the state review adds a lot of cost and time. We've got to streamline that process without compromising safety. Fifth, education policy should be driven by student outcomes and not political agendas. We need to realign K-12, trade schools, community college, UCs with today's job market so that every kid has a real diverse opportunity to thrive without crippling debt. I serve as school board president in Palos Verdes and on the SoCal Rock Board, as I mentioned. During our time, we improved our state rankings, our academic scores, passed a local school bond measure by focusing on what matters most and not culture wars.
Thank you. Scott?
And my priority, too, on education would be we've got to get the funding right. And that is one of our biggest challenges. It's extremely inequitable across this state as to how that formula works. And we are seeing that right here in our communities. I don't want to go against Torrance for a moment, but obviously the beach cities. The beach cities are always struggling. Look at Manhattan Beach. They just had to send out layoff notices to a batch of teachers again. I grew up in public schools. I value public schools. I went to West High School right over here in Torrance. But we have to make sure that these kids are ready for the future. I also agree with what was said by one of my colleagues up here. We've got to train them with a myriad of skills. Not everyone is college bound, and that's okay. We've got great community colleges, we've got great trade schools, we've got unions, we've got a lot of other sectors like the water industry and utilities. We need workers. We need people that are smart and cognitive, but they also are adaptable and they want to work with their hands, and that's a big part of the future too. So those would be some priorities for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with this one, we'll start with George. George?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you hear this. What is your view of the continued use of hydrofluoric acid at the Torrance refinery, and what will you do if elected?
That's a good question, because I know most Torrance residents are very concerned about this, and that has the potential of creating a very serious hazardous condition. Again, I'm not an expert in that area, in that field, but we definitely need a refinery. We cannot continue in the next 50 years without some fossil fuels, but we have to make sure that these refineries are going to be as safe as possible. And I know it's a controversial subject. And again, I would bring smart people together that have expertise in that field and will support reforms necessary, and if it means they can't use it, I will support that.
Okay, thank you. Sarah?
Just yesterday, I was having a conversation with one of our emergency physician doctors who serves on the disaster preparedness team for one of the large healthcare organizations here, and he was talking about his understanding. He's visited the Torrance refinery and feels that the continued use of MHF puts South Bay residents at great risk. And that's why I did sign the pledge to work with the community to phase out MHF, but we're not talking about shutting down the refinery. I also understand that a lot of people in South Bay rely on the refinery for jobs. Those jobs are some of the few that give you a viable pathway towards home ownership, so that's not lost on me. So I think my next step would be, I have not visited the Torrance refinery yet. I've requested a meeting, and I would like to hear from them and understand their point of view and see if we can find a shared pathway forward. I've done some really difficult things on the school board, moved really difficult balls across the finish line, like passing a local school bond measure and talking about things that are very difficult to talk about. So I think I've got the chops to do it, and I look forward to fulfilling that commitment to the community.
Thank you, Sarah. Scott?
I think we all understand how important the Torrance refinery is to this community and to this region. Just like the Chevron refinery up the street is, and the handful of others that are still here, by the way. So we're losing 2 refineries in the state of California, and that is purely supply and demand. There is no doubt about it, gas prices are going to go up. We lost one here, we're losing one in Northern California. First of all, we cannot afford to lose another refinery in this state. We do need to hold the Torrance refinery accountable. I think another thing you have to recall is that is now owned by a new owner. It was ExxonMobil who previously owned it, and they did have a track record that was not the best. In this particular refinery here, they've made great strides to make it safer. So I'll support every effort to keep it safe and make it safer, but I'm not going to go down the path to where we lose another one. We have to be really cautious in how we address this.
Thank you. Jessica?
I believe that we need to have clean air in a safe environment, and we do need to explore what other options we have in order to make sure that we do not pollute the atmosphere. However, I also do support that refineries need to stay open. Currently, California provides 25% of the oil that we need. We import 75% of the oil from other states and from other countries. As a result of that, the cost of gasoline is very expensive because of the transport. Imagine bringing oil from Saudi Arabia. How far does that tanker have to travel in the ocean to bring all that fuel to us? It costs the transportation, the fees, the taxes. It's just a disaster. We have the oil that we need here. We have the fuel that we need here under our very own soil. We need to pump it safely, protecting our environment, but we have enough gasoline here in California to meet the needs of Californians. And so, yes, I do support that we need to find a safer way to protect our environment, but also keep our refineries open.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Sarah. What will you do to advance public financing of election campaigns?
Ooh, that's a good one. Campaign finance remains one of the, probably it is the single most worst part of our politics right now, especially with the Citizens United decision. I'm particularly interested in hearing what happens in Montana this year. Montana has a ballot measure to see if they can, because states have jurisdiction over what corporations can and cannot do in their borders. So I'm interested in seeing if Montana will be successful in passing that ballot measure, which would help them mitigate Citizens United, which probably will have the most impact in addressing the money in campaign finances. I think the second piece that I'm most interested in is pursuing ranked choice voting, because that also opens up the field beyond a two-party control. And then I'm very much open to publicly financed campaigns. We've seen across the country how they level the playing field and allow a wider breadth of ideas to come to the fore in important elections. I do think campaign finance reform is the most, I'm surprised you got a question about it, because it's unfortunate that people don't ask that more often. It is the most important issue of our time right now.
It is very. Thank you. Scott?
Sure. You know what, running for public office, I think one of the most difficult things for any one of us is the fundraising part. And not any one of us either would lie to you and say this is fun or easy. It takes a lot of money to run these campaigns. To run in the state assembly seat and be viable, you probably got to raise $500,000. So you think about that. And even for local contests, you know, it's $50,000 for a city council seat. It's $50,000 to $100,000 for a water board seat. We're not all independently wealthy people. You know, we have got to call friends and neighbors and every connection you've got and try to get folks to give money and to get buy-in. Now, granted, that's the American system. So having gone through this, and I can assure you when I get to Sacramento, I want to look at it, you know, heavily. I know our state senator's been doing that for a number of years. But I do think we need to look at some of those options for the public financing as well as matching funds. There's different models to do this, but what we need to also do is lower the barriers to participation because it's very, very tough. And that's why you don't always get such a broad range of candidates.
Thank you. Jessica?
One of the challenges, I think, in running for office and fundraising is special interest groups and people running for the right reasons or people running for the wrong reasons. I can tell you that I've had people call me and tell me that that they can help me raise money if I give them my delegate seats. I think it's really interesting. I'm like, oh, I'm not playing that game. So it's a game to be played, and I don't play those politics. I'm not a politician. I'm not for sale. I think that's one of the things that you see politicians getting into office, and they're bought by special interest groups. And even candidates, as we're running for office, look to see who's supporting the candidates that are running. Are there any special interest groups that are supporting the candidates? And it's interesting, it should be a lot more affordable to run for office than having to put your house on the market in order to run for office. It is very, very expensive. And I also see that some parties get a lot more money. They have a lot of special interest groups that funds them. And other parties, like myself, we are grassroots, and we take those small donations from people, and everything comes together to work.
Thank you. George?
Yes, it's just unbelievable how expensive it is to run for office. And what we need to do, what people need to do is look at these candidates and check their finance, the Fair Political Practices Commission, and see where they're getting their money. This is my third time running for this particular office, and people tell me, George, you've got to raise $5 million. I said, well, other candidates in past elections, 1.5, 2.5. How do you get this kind of money? You know what they said? You have to go to Sacramento weekly and talk to the lobbyists, the special interests. That's how they get the money. You're no longer your own person. My campaign is truly grassroots.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll start with Scott on this. I think we have just enough time for maybe one or two questions more. Please mention on where your donations are coming in from.
Mm-hmm. Wow, look at that. That's a great question. You know what? I am proud that the majority of my contributions come from within this district, and it is very grassroots. And even those who live in our neighboring cities, like let's say toward Culver City, some of my other friends in the area. So I started out grassroots running for local city council seat many years ago in El Segundo. I didn't win, but I was there. And then I ran for the water board, and I've done this 3 times now. I've built up a strong grassroots base, and one of the things I'm super proud about, as we mentioned how difficult it is to run for local office and do that work, is that you build up a base of people who support you. And some can give $1,000 and some can give $25. But I am proud to have those types of people who are in my corner and who are supporting me in this election.
Thank you. Jessica?
Yes, for me, my contributions are also coming from friends, neighbors, people that I've done life with for 46 years here in the South Bay. The majority of them, I've known them. There's a few people that I'm meeting as I'm campaigning and pitching my vision and my race, and people are sewing into this race. So it's basically the majority of people are those that live in this district, and District 66, all the cities that you know from El Segundo to San Pedro, Gardena, and Lomita. And so it's basically our voters.
Okay, thank you. George?
Okay, all you have to do is look at my financial disclosures. I've only had one donation, and that was for $250. And I, have some flyers and business cards, so I have fronted about $1,000 of my own money. Unless you receive or spend more than $2,000, you don't have to disclose anything. So if you check me out right now, I'm zero as far as money is concerned. But I'll probably have to raise a little more, but it's unbelievable.
Okay, thank you, George. Sarah?
Great question. I'm actually my own biggest donor. It's not the majority of my funds, but it's public record, so I'm not sharing a secret here. I just felt like if I was asking my friends and families to really spread themselves thin, it only made sense for our family to do the same thing. So we wanted to pick an amount that was a little bit painful for us, but still sustainable. We didn't mortgage our house or anything like that. I was a local dentist, my husband's a local physician, so disproportionately my donors are a lot of healthcare providers. There's a lot of doctors. We've lived around the country because my husband was training in different states, so you will find doctors from different states have contributed. We've also been a part of a lot of philanthropy groups focused on civil rights, so you'll see a lot of individuals that have contributed to other civil rights and philanthropy efforts. In terms of interest groups, my largest donors, I think, are the California Teachers Association, California Nurses Association, and the California Dental Association, who each double maxed in my race. I think those are the biggest donors that people will find.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have time for one more question, do you think? No, okay. Then we are going to go to closing remarks. You have 1.5 minutes for your closing remarks, and we will start with George and then work our way down to the end to Sarah. Okay, George?
Okay. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and to everyone who took the time to be part of this important conversation tonight. At the end of the day, this race comes down to a simple question. Who will best represent our communities and bring common sense back to Sacramento? I spent my life here in the South Bay as a small business owner, a councilman, a mayor, working to solve problems, not creating them. I understand the real challenges families are facing, rising costs, public safety concerns, and a growing crisis on our streets tied to mental health and substance abuse. We need leadership that supports our police, firefighters, and schools. Leadership that protects local control, stands up for small businesses, defends Proposition 13, and says no to new taxes. And leadership that's willing to take practical steps to lower costs, like temporarily waiving the gas tax and secure our energy future. We need to take the politics out of policy. I'm running to be your voice, to listen, to lead, and deliver results. I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica?
Hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm just so honored to be here with you today. Thank you so much for all of you that took the time to be here. Thank you for the League of Women Voters as well that has hosted this event. I am running on parental rights, restoring education, cost of living, immigration reform, make sure that our communities are not overcrowded, to restore the power back to a local government, because Sacramento is telling our local government what to build, how much to build, and is overcrowding our communities. I'm also running to make sure that we have public safety. We should be able to feel safe in our homes, safe in our streets. Our children should be able to play in the streets without feeling afraid. Our elderly should be able to walk in our streets and feel safe, not feel like someone's going to, hurt them or take their belongings from them. And also our houses should also feel safe. I believe that we need to support our local police to make sure they have the resources that they need. I grew up here in the South Bay. I've lived here for 46 years. I'm a naturalized citizen. I was born in South America, Peru. I'm a proud naturalized American citizen. I'm a patriot. I love this nation. I'm grateful for the American dream that I've been able to fulfill. I'm living the American dream. I believe the American dream is accessible to every person that so chooses to have it. I believe that we need to educate our children so they can have the very best education possible because they are the future of this nation. I hope that I can earn your vote. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Scott?
I can look every one of you in the eye and tell you that I know this district like the back of my hand. And no other candidate can compare to the long-term public service and results that I have delivered in this district already. My expertise in water infrastructure has brought me to the front lines of droughts, landslides, wildfires, and rebuilding in the aftermath. I've proudly been the only elected official unafraid to demand accountability for harassed water district workers. And I'm going to bring that same level of care to you as your representative in Sacramento. And don't just take my word for it. Go to my website, scotthouston.org, and see for yourself. I am humbled to have the most local endorsements of anyone in this race, 3 times more than all my opponents combined. These are leaders you trust: city, school, police, business, fire, and civic leaders. And this overwhelming support comes from my proven leadership over the years here. So when elected, your needs will always be first. I'm Scott Houston, and I humbly ask for your vote to represent you in Assembly District 66. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Thank you again to the League, tonight's volunteers, the candidates, and the audience for being here. Currently, there are 0 dentists in the state legislature, and soon enough, only 1 doctor. We're heading into a worsening healthcare crisis that will impact everyone, even those of you with good insurance today. We need lawmakers who understand what it feels like to look a patient in the eye and solve their problem, not manage it, not study it, solve it. It's a different way of thinking, and Sacramento needs it. Our children are inheriting a perfect storm: housing they can't afford, crippling college costs, and a K-12 system that isn't best preparing them for the jobs that actually exist. As a school board president, SCROC board member, small business owner, I'm uniquely positioned to realign public ed with tomorrow's opportunities, ensuring every young person has a fair chance at thriving, which is the best way to keep our communities safe. I'm not a political party insider. I've spent years working across conflict, finding areas of mutual agreement, and building public and political will to actually deliver. That's how we passed a local school bond measure when many said it was impossible. I believe in government of the people, by the people, for the people. No cronyism, no backroom deals, no elevating the well-connected over the most effective. Cronyism is really killing our state right now. I have a public record of results and courage. I'd be honored to earn your vote on June 2nd, and I hope to connect with each and every one of you in the weeks ahead. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you all. This concludes our candidate forum for the State Assembly District 66. We're going to be taking a short break, come back at 6:45 to do the Senate District. Yes, you can applaud now. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Beach Cities, Palos Verdes Peninsula, and Torrance area, I want to thank our candidates for participating. We could not do this without you, obviously, and you did a great job, all of you. I want to thank the City of Torrance for doing this venue for us, and for Torrance Community Television for taping it. Thank you all for attending, and this forum is now over. See you in 15 minutes.
It's a good crowd.
Good job. You did a good job. What's that? Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah.